All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the main event. She is going to talk to us about all the work she's done with the Quilters. Please give it up for Karen Page.
Pretty amazing. Oops.
Oh, tap it again. And we're good.
I'm
Karen,
on.
yeah, welcome. I'm so glad to have you on Fusion Night. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I've been so excited. Thank you for asking me. I think some of the things we do are pretty hidden. Those quilters and stitchers are a modest group.
I agree. One of the focus that we were having this season is we want to bring out all of the helpers that are behind the scenes because the church is just so big and there's so much going on, and we need to get to know the people that are doing so much work for us.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So you have been working with the Quilters and doing so much. How long now have you been working with our Quilters?
I retired from teaching in about 1999. One of the first things I did was seek out the quilting group that was here. So if you do the math, that's almost 20 years ago. There was a small group, Wanda Wayner, some of you might remember her name, and Doris Wilson, and Nola Kelly. They were three of the main ones that started the quilting group. And I think they had a room right across the hallway.
Yeah,
That's where they started. And since then, we've moved downstairs.
Yeah, so almost 20 years now. So now, did you just hop into it because you're like, all right, I'm retired, I got to do something? Or what drew you to the Quilters group in particular?
Well, it's a family thing. Both of my grandmothers were quilters. I have a number of their quilts. And my mother was a quilter. And one of her things was to make a quilt for each grandchild when they married. They didn't get it until they were married. And then when the great-grandchildren started coming, she would make a quilt for each great-grandchild.
That's awesome. So you're just carrying on a family
I'm
tradition?
carrying on the tradition. And yeah, that's what drew me in. I made some quilts while I was teaching, but those were pretty simple, and a lot of them were tied. I learned to hand quilt from Wanda in that group.
That's amazing. So almost 20 years. So you have made just countless quilts.
Well, it's a group effort. I mean, not one person makes the quilt. Sometimes, like Wanda would piece a large quilt, and then we bring it to church, and then we would make the sandwich. You put a back on it and the batting, and we always laughed. We'd push the tables together downstairs and then climb up on there and pin it together. And people weren't allowed in there because it wasn't very pretty. We were climbing around on the tables. So it started with those three women, and now we have, there's probably 25 names on the list.
Oh, wow.
Of women that come, and not everyone hand quilts. Some people tie quilts together. Some people do the whip stitching of the binding. Some people just pin the quilts together. I mean, everybody has their little expertise.
But that's amazing to go from 3 to 4 to 25 people. That's a growing ministry.
You know, I've often thought of this, Wanda passed away of an aneurysm. She just, after Carl died. And it was like, that was the catalyst or impetus. People thought, we've got to keep this going. What Wanda started, and we got more and more people. And so we call ourselves now the Quilters and Stitchers because it's not just hand quilting. And then as part of that, people donated things. Claudia and Chuck Cook donated a quilting machine. We've been given several sergers, which helps make the school bags. Some of you know that we made over 600 school bags.
Yes.
I didn't make one, I mean, but there are people that do that. They serge them, and then I think there's even a guy that helps at home.
I know.
Some of you know who that is.
I know in my home, I'm the one that has to sew everything, which seems odd. But
No, that's good.
so out of all these projects, maybe it's impossible. Do you have any favorites that you've worked on over that course of time?
Oh, I just happen to have.
Just happen to have.
One of the things that is a favorite is one of the sets of the paraments. I don't know if you know that, the paraments that are on the altar and that you see in church.
Yeah, yeah.
Those were all made and designed by our quilting group.
Really?
They're all hand quilted. And
Those are gorgeous.
aren't they beautiful?
They are
Aren't they
amazing.
beautiful? Yeah, Pastor Steve said he had looked at purchasing some. And then he came to the quilting group. We said, sure, we can do that. And my favorite set are the white ones that they had on there at Christmas. I think with the star. And
Those are. I'm partial to the wedding ones since I got married.
okay,
So
sure,
I'm always going to have a soft spot for those.
Yeah. Anyway, you asked about favorites. I
Yes.
have. I brought a couple along.
All right.
Now, not all quilts are, huge, the ones that you put on the bed. We make wall hangings, table runners, and of course the paraments. Also, be looking in a couple months, we'll have some wall hangings done for the narthex, where the stained glass windows were. There's kind of places in there. They've been designed, and we're in process of quilting those now.
Awesome.
But anyway, this is a favorite wall hanging of mine. Get it right. And the reason this is a favorite is that this was made by Wanda Weiner. And she designed it and hand quilted it. And it just makes me happy when I hang it in my home. And then the other one that I will show you, this one is one that I made. I put every stitch in this. And guess where this is going to go? This is going to go to the great-granddaughter. I'm going to go out in a couple weeks and see her.
Oh, she's very lucky. That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
That is
Thank
excellent
you.
work.
So, I think I showed you the right size. So anyway, those are my favorites. I've done some large quilts of my own, but the large quilts that we do at church are sometimes they're done for other people, like they got a quilt top that had never been finished.
Yeah.
So they bring it to us and say, would you quilt? And we said yes, but for a price. And then that money goes to UMCOR for mission. We also make large quilts, sometimes hand quilt them for the in-gathering. And then all that money goes to missions.
Which is awesome. And then I'm glad we're moving into kind of some of where these quilts go, because obviously we don't just make quilts just to make them. We give out a lot of quilts on a yearly basis. And we have some numbers. And I was wondering if you could give some examples of some of the people that we are giving these quilts out to.
I'll be glad to. I have quite a list here. A couple years ago, it was Wanda started this. There was a contact up in Waverly, and that belonged to the Association for Parents of Foster Children. Okay. So we give quilts, make them, more small size to children that are going to go into foster care. You can imagine a child's parents, get arrested, and then they have no place to go, so they're put in a foster home. And then we provide quilts. Each child gets one. Let's see, also, We found out that there were homeless families over at Lincoln School, and so at Christmas time, we saw that each of those children got a quilt.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
And also, now we've gone over to Blackhawk County when there's the adoption day, and then each child that is adopted gets a quilt, small quilt. We try to match them up. You know, if it's a small child, they get a cute little baby quilt and so on. But over, I think it's about 3 years, we've given 160 quilts.
Wow.
For those foster kids. Okay, I'm not done.
But wait, there's
But
more.
wait. A couple years ago, in a little newspaper out in a Colorado mountain town, I read an article about comfort quilts. And I thought, whoa, comfort quilts, we're doing little quilts for kids. I bet we can do that. And so we started making comfort quilts. And we've since given over 100 comfort quilts. Now here's what happens. We have about 4 or 5 tubs full of quilts. And these are usually tied, or sometimes we use that machine to quilt them. Carol Dick comes down and says, well, so-and-so's in the hospital, or so-and-so's been diagnosed with cancer, is under chemotherapy, or just somebody is not feeling well. So she'll gather up she'll choose some quilts and goes and takes them to their home. Those quilts are cherished. Sometimes there are people in nursing homes, and they can snuggle under that. We've heard from, after they passed away, that quilt was their favorite quilt, and they used that. Let's see, what else? Baptisms. That was another idea. I think it was Mary Slisher brought that to us. She said there's some church somewhere that they always give a quilt to each child that's baptized. Since 2010, we have given over 80 quilts to children in this church that have been baptized. Let's see. So those are the main recipients. I mentioned the auction at Ingathering. When we auction off a large quilt or smaller ones, those dollars go to UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief. Then, of course, I mentioned the paraments and the things we make for this church.
So that's a large number. So do you have them all totaled up, or do you just have the individual quantities?
No, I just did
Because we have
each quantities.
160 that we give out
Those are foster kids.
For foster kids. We have 100 comfort blankets. We've given over 80 for
Very
baptisms. Good. That's a lot. I have to give you another round of applause. That's amazing that we give out that many.
Yeah. And it's not just me. This
No,
is all these women.
To have this ministry in our church is so huge. You obviously feel very connected to it, and it's probably the most obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Why do you think that this ministry in our church is so important to have?
Well, just to start off, it's a tangible piece. It's something you can hold and see, but it represents the love. That's what we're all about.
I love it. And then you've been part of a group that's been giving this love out to just our church members, people in our community, people that are in need. You have to be getting fed in some way. As you're quilting and as you have been quilting, where do you find yourself the closest to God as you're putting something together?
Well, I guess I mentioned the love. I think God sent Jesus here to show us God is love. And I feel like I can be the hands and feet of Christ. So I use my hands to create a quilt, and then my feet to give it. So it fits. It makes me very close. The other part of this, and I think it's probably as important, you're all part of this community of Christ, our church here at First Church. And this group of quilters is a close-knit group. And
No pun intended.
that's
Right.
right. No, we don't knit. But it's a support group, and it's, I think, I forget what the verse is, but where one or two or more together gathered together in my name, there I am also. And so I know everyone feels that, and I do as well.
That's just, it's amazing. And Karen, I'm so glad that you could come and be a part of this to share that story. I'm so grateful that we have that ministry in our church, and I'm so glad that if folks here or watching at home didn't know about it, that they know about it now, because it's so vital to continue to share that love to all who need it. So from me and everyone at the church, thank you so much for being a part of the Quilters.
Oh, you're welcome.
Tell everyone in that committee how grateful we are. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Karen Page. We are now going to have a reflection song, and this is your chance to reflect on all of the things that Karen has talked about. It's your chance to pray, to lift up anything on your heart as a result of what she shared up to our Lord and Savior. So this is your time for our reflection.